Right now, as you're listening to this, three major banks just lost another $1 million to implementation failures they can't even see coming. The worst part? They think they're doing everything right. This isn't about technology. This is about survival in a market that's moving faster than most institutions can adapt. I'm speaking to you from Advantage Consulting here in Dallas, where we've spent the last decade helping financial institutions navigate the most complex digital transformations in banking history. What we're seeing right now, it's unlike anything we've witnessed before. The gap between traditional banking and digital-first competitors isn't just widening. It's becoming a chasm that's swallowing institutions whole every day. We're watching banks lose ground to fintech, startups that didn't even exist 5 years ago. These aren't just small community banks struggling to keep up. We're talking about established institutions with decades of experience, solid customer bases, and significant resources. Yet they're being outmaneuvered by companies operating out of co-working spaces. Here's what's really happening in the market right now, and why most banks are completely blind to the implementation trap that's destroying their competitive position. The problem isn't what you think it is. Most banking executives believe their biggest challenge is choosing the right technology or finding the budget for digital transformation. But after working with hundreds of institutions across Texas and beyond, I can tell you the real issue runs much deeper. We recently completed an analysis of implementation failures across the institutions we work with, and the pattern is startling. 93% of banks that fail in their digital transformation efforts make the same critical mistake during implementation. They focus on the technology and completely ignore the ecosystem. Let me give you a real example. A regional bank we worked with last year had everything going for them: strong leadership, adequate budget, clear vision for digital transformation. They selected their core banking platform, chose their digital payment solutions, mapped out their integration strategy. 6 months into implementation, they were hemorrhaging money, and customers were complaining about system outages. What went wrong? They treated each system as an isolated project instead of understanding how every piece of their technology ecosystem needed to work together. Their new digital payment platform couldn't communicate effectively with their existing loan origination system. Customer data was fragmented across 3 different databases. Mobile banking features that worked perfectly in testing completely failed when integrated with their core platform. This is the implementation trap, and it's more common than you might think. Institutions spend months evaluating individual solutions, but they spend almost no time understanding how those solutions will interact with every other system in their environment. Here's the data that should terrify every banking executive. In 2023, financial institutions lost an average of $2.4 million per failed implementation project. But the hidden cost is even worse. They lose an average of 18 months of competitive positioning. In today's market, 18 months might as well be 18 years. The institutions that are winning right now understand something fundamental about modern banking technology. Success isn't about having the best individual systems. It's about having the most cohesive ecosystem. Let's talk about what's really driving change in financial services right now, because the transformation happening is more profound than most people realize. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and digital payment. Systems aren't just adding features to banking. They're completely rewriting how financial services operate. We're seeing AI implementations that are reducing loan processing times from weeks to hours. Not through simple automation, but through intelligent systems that can analyze credit risk, verify documentation, and assess collateral value simultaneously. One institution we work with recently implemented an ad-driven credit decisioning system that increased their loan approval rate by 37% while actually reducing default risk. Blockchain technology is solving problems that banks have struggled with for decades. Cross-border payments that used to take days and cost significant fees are now happening in minutes for pennies. We're helping institutions implement blockchain solutions for everything from trade, finance to identity verification, and the efficiency gains are remarkable. But here's where most banks are making their biggest mistake with implementation. They're trying to layer these new technologies on top of legacy systems that were never designed to handle this level of integration. The big 3 core banking providers, Fiserv, Jack Henry, and FIS, they serve about 70% of banks in the United States. These platforms are incredibly powerful, but they require sophisticated implementation strategies to unlock their full potential. We've seen institutions spend millions on core modernization projects that deliver minimal value because they didn't understand how to properly configure these systems for their specific needs. Take Fiserv's DNA platform, for example. It's a robust, cloud-native core banking solution that can handle everything from retail banking to complex commercial lending. But we've worked with institutions that were using maybe 20% of its capabilities because their implementation partner took a cookie-cutter approach instead of customizing the platform for their unique requirements. Jack Henry's Silver Lake system offers incredible flexibility for community and regional banks, but only if it's properly integrated with complementary systems. We recently helped a bank unlock significant lending efficiency by properly connecting their Silver Lake core with Abrigo's loan origination platform. Speaking of lending technology, this is where we're seeing some of the most impressive transformation results. Abrigo has built what we consider the best-in-class loan origination system in the market today. It streamlines the entire lending workflow from application to funding, and when properly implemented, it can cut loan processing time by 60% or more. The institutions we work with that have successfully implemented Abrigo are making faster, smarter lending decisions and significantly improving their competitive position in credit markets. But again, the key word is properly implemented. We've seen banks struggle with Abrigo implementations, not because the system isn't powerful, but because they didn't properly integrate it with their core banking platform and risk management systems. FIS's Profile platform serves many of the largest banks in the country, and it's designed to handle massive transaction volumes and complex product offerings. But maximizing its value requires deep expertise in configuration and integration, expertise that most banks simply don't have in-house. This brings us to the implementation strategies that actually work. After analyzing hundreds of successful digital transformations, we've identified 3 critical factors that separate winning institutions from those that struggle. First, successful banks treat implementation as an ecosystem project, not a series of individual system deployments. Before they install any new technology, they map out every integration point, data flow, and user touchpoint across their entire technology environment. Second, they invest heavily in change management and staff training. The most sophisticated banking technology in the world is worthless if your team doesn't understand how to use it effectively. We typically recommend that banks allocate at least 30% of their implementation budget to training and change management. Third, they work with consultants who understand the entire fintech ecosystem, not just individual products. At Advantage, we've helped institutions navigate complex integrations between core banking systems, digital payment platforms, loan origination systems, and regulatory reporting tools. We understand how Fiserv DNA integrates with modern digital payment solutions, how to optimize Jack Henry Silver Lake for mobile banking efficiency, and how to configure FIS Profile for maximum operational efficiency. We also help institutions navigate the regulatory challenges that come with digital transformation. Every new system implementation creates compliance considerations, and we ensure that our clients maintain regulatory compliance throughout their transformation journey. The practical steps we're taking with clients right now focus on 3 key areas: digital payment optimization, strategic system integration, and regulatory navigation. We're helping banks implement contactless payment solutions, optimize their mobile banking platforms, and integrate artificial intelligence for fraud detection and customer service. Here's what I want every banking executive to understand. The future belongs to institutions that can adapt quickly and implement effectively. The technology exists today to compete with any fintech startup, but only if it's implemented correctly. The banks that will dominate the next decade are the ones making smart implementation decisions right now. They're investing in cohesive technology ecosystems, not isolated solutions. They're focusing on integration and user experience, not just features and functionality. Your customers don't care what core banking platform you use or which payment processor handles their transactions. They care about fast, seamless, secure banking experiences. The institutions that can deliver those experiences will win. Those that can't won't survive. The transformation is happening whether you participate or not. The question is whether you'll lead it or be left behind by it. Knowing isn't enough. The next step is where most businesses fail.